laban natin sa COVID-19. And together, we can beat the solution.
B. Bawal walang mask.
I. Isanitize sa mga kamay. Iwas hawak sa mga bagay.
C. Kumistansya ng isang metro.
A. Alamin ang totoong impormasyon tungkol sa COVID-19.
Protektahan natin ang sarili at mga mahal sa buhay.
Be the solution sa COVID-19.
Everybody was preparing for 2020.
Business was actually very stable and very good.
March 15, nagko-contract signing pa ako. So, ang happy-happy namin. Then, nag-lockdown siya. Wala na kaming magawa.
Nandyan na nga, balik sa simula.
We're supposed to have celebrated our 36 years, but because of the pandemic,
dumarating na yung mga questions that you need answers on how to continue the business.
Tumigil yung oras. Parang tumigil yung mundo.
Nandyan ka, may pag-asa, dahan-dahan, sabay-sabay. Ano mang pagsubok ng buhay, dahan-dahan tayo ay muling babangon. Tuloy-tuloy ang tulong, sabay din tayo muling susulong. Pwede pang mangarap ng bagong
We see this crisis as a very challenging one, but it's something that we have to persevere.
As entrepreneur, we have to be strong. My team has families also.
It took us a while to realize na kailangan lumaban na kailangan may gawin.
Konti-konti ulit para kami nag-uumpisa.
well, I'm not going to be part of that 40% that will not survive, and that's it.
There's still a drop of life left in Maxi Mango, then I'm gonna hold on to that and I'm gonna keep it alive.
Basta't nandyan ka, may pag-asa, dahan-dahan, sabay-sabay.
Kaya gusto ko mag-reopen kasi nakita ko yung empowerment na nagawa nitong negosyong to.
Our clients are still there and we are still wanted.
But we're adjusting.
Sabay din tayo, muling susulong.
Na may customer nga na pumasok sa store, even just buying one mask na 35 pesos, it's like we dance for joy.
Yung namimiss mo yung nag-umpisa ka na, sana may bumili ng tinda ko, yun yung nafe-feel ko nung time na yon. Parang back to basic ako.
Doon mo mafe-feel na, okay, may pag-asa pala.
Sama ka, pwede pang
For the sake of the Filipinos, we just have to give it a fight, di ba?
But we are so positive that we will bounce back. Kailangan nating talunin tong pandemic na to.
Welcome to Ate Rica's Baksilog. We are now cooking.
Balik na mo, abli na mi. True Blends and Shops to Go are now open.
mula noon, lalo ngayon.
Laging mainit at laging masarap pa rin ang vodka. Tuloy po kayo.
Nail It is open. Tuloy na po kayo.
Tuloy po kayo. Welcome mga suki.
Pwede pang mangarap.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 7th PANA General Membership Meeting. It is my honor to introduce to you today's host and moderator. He is a digital immigrant that took the digital dive more than 15 years ago. He was one of the bricklayers of the Internet and Mobile Marketing Association of the Philippines, or IMAP, when digital was Yahoo, MySpace, and Friendster. He retired from the association he helped build in 2017. He says he is forever curious and fascinated with trends that shape new worlds. Since leaving the advertising agency life, he is now into e-commerce, customer experience, and anticipatory intelligence. He declares that we are currently living in the age where small is the new big. Let us all welcome the country head and senior partner at Entropia, Mr. Ed Mapa.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We're running close to 5 months now since the pandemic and the health crisis began. There's an old saying that goes, for every crisis lies new opportunities and new beginnings that beckons. I'm Ed Mapa. I will be your navigator for today's interesting topic. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our PANA President, Marvin Chu Lim, and our PANA Foundation Chair, Ms. Blen Fernando, who will deliver their welcome address. Marvin, Blen.
Good morning, Ed. Thank you very much for helping us. Good morning, Ma'am Len.
Hi.
So good afternoon, brand builders. I hope that everyone is safe and well. So in our drive to evolve, we would like to thank you to our friends from the Entrepreneurs Organization Philippines and the Association of Filipino Franchisers, Inc. for joining us today. And of course, thank you so much to Catapult Digital for always helping us execute all our online GMMs and learning sessions. I'd like to briefly run over some updates on what we're doing in PANA for our members. Number one, we are promoting our PANA Consult project. We at PANA are committed to assist you, our members, in anything that will help you in brand building during this time. Even in this work from home setup, amid the challenges, you may reach out to your PANA board to consult anything about brand, media, advertising, or any marketing concerns that you have. Simply email us for a schedule, and the mentorship program is exclusive to our members, and it is 100% free for everyone. So I highly suggest that all of our members take this free initiative and really interact with us so that you can get the best advice for your marketing needs. Next, we would like to promote our PANA Assist. This is clarity of issues is key, especially when addressing an ASC problem. We have set up the PANA Assist program to help thresh out your basic ASC concerns. Again, this is also exclusive for our PANA members. Simply email us at that email address. Next, we would like to make it easier for new members to come on board. So we have a new infographic to show on how we can get our members onto PANA. So PANA continues to build the legacy of championing effective and responsible brand building. So be a part of the industry's stellar brand building community. So be a PANA member now. So we would appreciate if all of our members could seek other members for us. Although it's not our main objectives, but we want to help the advertising industry bounce back. And the more people that we get into the loop, the more people that we can help, and the more people that hopefully reinvest back into advertising and marketing. So learn, share, network with us. We will be launching our community-based platform of communication to all our members for announcements, feedbacking, and instant communications on what our members need. So this is part of our drive to evolve during this pandemic. Last July 24, the DOH launched the BDES Solution COVID-19 campaign. This will reinforce 4 key preventive behaviors against COVID-19. We believe that advertisers, we can be part of this drive to implement behavior changes and mindset change within our respective organizations and influence our market on the proper safety protocols in the new normal. As brand builders, we can be part of this solution to help prevent the further spread of this unseen enemy. So we call on our brand partners to adopt this Be the Solution campaign to their collaterals, to their brands, as this is 100% free and it is a small thing that us brands can do. So to find out more, please contact us. Lastly, since February, PANA and PANAF had been holding virtual GMMs and online learning sessions. in order to assist you as we enter this new normal. While businesses are starting to open up, most people still prefer to stay at home. Today's discussion will focus on the new consumers and how brands can address his needs or her needs, and how the need for convenience drives the delivery economy. I want to say thank you in advance to all our great speakers, panelists, and of course, our host and moderator today. On behalf of the PANA board, the PANA Foundation trustees, and the whole of PANA brand building community, we would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Patrick Kua of Nielsen Philippines, our panelists, Sherwin of Entrego, Eileen of URC, George of Angkas, Timothy of Shopback, and our host again, Sir Ed Mapa. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. See you all again in our next GMM, only for PANA members and hopefully other associations that we partner with on August 27.
Hi, Glenn. Glenn, you're in mute, Glenn.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, all right.
So, hi Ed, thank you very much. Thank you, Marvin. And I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. I'd also like to say good afternoon to the guests. Thank you for accepting. And Ed, thank you very much for agreeing to be the moderator, kind that twisted your arm, but okay lang, diba? In the PANA board, you've seen what we are up, what Marvin has updated all of us. And I'd also like to give you a few pointers on the PANA Foundation. The first one, of course, is we are always committed to being supporters of learners and educators, not just in schools and colleges, but also for the young practitioners. We believe that PANA and the PANA Foundation has a role in really, helping them develop so that one day they may take over what we're doing. They can also join the industry and become better than us. So first, let me remind everyone that we have the Business Confidence Survey. We've extended the deadline until Friday, July 31. So please, we appeal that konti na lang, and we're there in the number of respondents that we need. This survey is our very first one, and it is really only among PANA members. We want to get a tracking of how we will be moving since this COVID times to the future. So every month you will get the survey results through our partnership with PSRC, and we also ask them to put together a executive summary that actually mirrors also what the other confidence services and what the economic conditions are. So please, the deadline has been extended. We still need maybe about 40% more respondents to fill up the survey. So next one, don't forget, the PANA Foundation has always our online learning sessions. Our last month was really a big hit. We thank our brand ambassadors who guested as well as our moderator. And we look forward to having better ones and more dynamic ones. So we're looking at topics like gamification and gaming as strategies. We're looking at how the young people who are going into the industry may decide to have two careers, how they can become better managers in the future. So a lot more. But to top it all, we are already announcing the opening of our very, very big initiative for 2020. Next slide, please. Which is really the Youth Creativity Festival. So for the first time, we're putting together an online session. It's not really a session, it's really a conference, a meetup, a getting together for students and educators from the colleges and universities in Metro Manila as well as the provinces. And we believe that the young people should really join this because there are two parts. The first part is a youth congress, which will talk about values and value formation and things that the young people may need as they move forward in their lives. And the second portion is the brand building, students brand building competition, which we have had every year for the past 21 years. But this year, it will be in a bigger, wider reach because we will be online, and we would like to announce the opening of the festival, starting with the brand design competition. It's open to all college students from both private and state colleges and universities who are in the school year 2019 and 2020. You may join as individuals or as a group. Just please go to our website, www.panaf.com.ph, or contact our secretariat. We will be releasing more details on this as we invite the schools in our roster. Not to forget, we would like to thank the Association of Filipino Franchisers Incorporated, or AFI, for inviting us to be one with them as we support, as Marvin had earlier said, the small and medium-sized enterprises in the country. We believe that these small businesses need to be supported by everyone, as consumers, as suppliers, as even just as advisors, so that they may be able to revive their businesses. The the domestic economy actually in this country survived for many, many years, grew and developed because you have supported the small and medium enterprises. So please go out, buy from our small and medium-sized enterprises, and their campaign is called Bayanihan. So maraming salamat, and as we move forward, we'd like to thank our partners and AFI, EO, and Catapult. And in behalf of my Board of Trustees, we'd like to thank everyone who is here today. Please remember that brand building means that you build your brands with a purpose. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, Marvin and Glenn. Delivery has surged since the shutdown. As consumer shopping patterns have changed in recent months, many brick and mortar stores are pivoting to delivery to keep their team members employed and customers supplied. While one might think of restaurants or groceries only when considering delivery, this channel has actually opened doors for all types of retail establishments. More and more consumer brands are adapting to this new normal. Our topic today, delivery economy, reshaping the retail landscape. Our keynote speaker is very passionate in helping companies succeed in an evolving Philippine landscape by providing independent measurement in the market and uncovering consumer and shopper insights. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our keynote speaker for today, the Managing Director of Nielsen Philippines, Mr. Patrick Kua. Patrick?
Hi, Ed. Magandang hapon.
Magandang hapon, Patrick.
Yeah, I'll proceed with thank you to PANA for inviting me again to talk to the general membership. So very interestingly, the topic is on the delivery economy. And many people have said COVID is a catalyst. So many companies need to adjust and adapt. And even with us in Nielsen, we're celebrating our 50th year this year. We're always looking to innovate. So I'll cover three things very quickly. Let us remind ourselves, what was it before COVID? And because of COVID, I'd like to remind everyone how the consumer and the retail trends are behaving. And as a brand, as a company, I'd like to challenge the team and discuss with the panel and our moderator what are some of the critical questions related to your brand and your business. So prior to COVID, this was the slide that we were sharing. These were the trends we were sharing. To some extent, it's really about urbanization, mall expansion, traffic. I was just talking to a friend who said, "Hey, his province is in the north of Cebu. This island is already happening because one of the fast food chains, they've decided to open at the end of the year, right? So that's a form of measure whether the urbanization has already arrived, right? In terms of spending power, our middle class was rising. People are being exposed to newer things. They're well traveled because that's the form of rewarding themselves, the experience economy. And as we all know, Philippines is one of the youngest nations in Southeast Asia with a 24 or 25-year-old median age. And then shifting demographics, people are getting married later. We're having smaller households or vertical living in condominiums, right? Or dormitories, and evolving gender roles. Filipinas, 49% of Filipinas are in the workforce. The global average is only 40. Right? A lot of mothers and women are having a bigger role in this society now. And our internet penetration continues to increase, driven by the cheaper mobile phones, those under $100. That was the first time they're accessing the internet. And ultimately, they discovered the online food delivery. We also, underlying that, we're also seeing the industries that are growing in the Philippines. Our friends from Angkas having those TNVS, right, the transport network, and then the BPOs, right, making the Philippine economy in the big cities really 24/7. Because of that, convenience was very key. In life, everyone was so busy. They needed an app for everything. Part of their choice was the extended hours of operation, right? More stores, more convenience stores, more banks extended their hours of operation. Okay, accessibility and simplicity for our consumers. If you had it, that was a key consideration. That's the case over the last 8 years since I've been with Nielsen. I've been seeing the number of shopping trips. So this is very FMCG focused. The number of shopping trips have been going down. They've been going to online and they've been going to smaller stores. Instead of one big shop during paydays, there were more top-up shops. There were more supermarkets and groceries in the neighborhood. And more people were eating out and looking for fresh food. Therefore, it meant lesser loyalty for outlets because of more choice. Right? So in terms of eating out, a number of our PANA members are in the food business. We saw at an all-time high, right? Everyone in Metro Manila and even in urban Philippines were already eating out. More than 7 outlets, including a carinderia, or casual dining restaurants, or even QSRs, right? People were eating out. My wife would organize something every Sunday just as a form of getting the family together, right? And people, that's a sign of rising middle class. People were spending on recreation and outside dining. So let's take a look at the data. I pulled this one pre-COVID. We were doing this for our clients on who's aware of delivery, right? And so, as a choice of brand, people 7 out of 10 find that delivery availability and the speed are important attributes for your brand image. For them to choose you, you needed to have the delivery service, right? And it of course was led by our quick service restaurants, our QSRs, where 80% were aware, right? And at least 1/4 are regular patrons of delivery. The interesting thing that would disrupt that industry would be the food aggregators and these apps, right? Before, you would remember, it was the battle of the jingles, right? How could you remember 5-digit phone numbers for delivery and so many versions of dance steps and jingles to drive the delivery habit? Now, food aggregators came and changed the game, provided more choice, no need to call, no need to memorize the numbers, right? And in Metro Manila, it was already quite a high level of awareness and starting to increase in patronage. So you need to liken it. If you don't have this food delivery, it's as if you're out of the consideration set. And with the COVID pandemic, this delivery feature or attribute or service, right, as we would call it, becomes more imperative as we talk to the consumers during COVID. So fast forward to COVID right now, many countries are still grappling with it, including the Philippines. We're trying to move towards normal living. A few of other markets in the Pacific, Vietnam, some of my colleagues there, they're all back to work. A lot of us are just moving to living a new normal, right? So with that, we called out the new consumer, which would be very focused about their health, their quality, safety, and I will touch upon for today why delivery is really linked to that safety and this staying at home behavior. I also talk about to brands. They say, well, people want assurance of your brand, but why are they less loyal, right? I think the caveat there is when you're unavailable, when you're not on the shelf, people will find the next brand and substitute you. An unprecedented amount of trial we're seeing with our data. And keep in mind some of the tighter budgets for masses that have their incomes have been affected. So focusing on renewed desire to stay home, even after the lockdown ended, right? The Chinese would be a good barometer. They continue to not go back, right? And they're rethinking their consumer behavior of eating out. So they're reprioritizing staying at home and eating at home. And for those who are really in the implications here will be, earlier I said people were topping up, but now people are stocking up, right? And most categories, we're seeing some of the bigger packs for those who can afford are being chosen. The bigger pack size of soft drinks, the bigger pack size of cooking oil, because they don't want to be exposed to the virus for a long time outside their house. Okay. And when we look, it also presents an opportunity, as what Ed talks about. Many people already cook daily, but they even cook more, right? So all the baking ingredients we saw everywhere in the US, in Asia, even in the Philippines, right? Flour is flying off the shelf, right? So they've also started to try things online because of mobility, right? And a lot of first-time users were using the delivery platform. And when we surveyed our household panel, our home panel, it's interesting to see who are the key players in the delivery platform. Okay, so with that, I think meeting the new retail and how to get your goods to your consumers, your brands, you not only need to drive online, but there has to be some delivery options, right? But also, there will be consumers and spenders who are challenged, and proximity retailing will rise. Dapat malapit lang yan sa akin, okay? And we'll talk about some of the some of the case studies we're seeing for big brands and also for MSMEs. So neighborhood stores and e-com and online will be more relevant. So during the lockdown, the big stores that are relevant to stocking up, drugstores for health, and online trial has gone up. And as we move to the new normal, right, the proximity retailing outlets will become important. If it's a yellow bar, it means it's the same, right? But more and more consumers will not want to go very far. So you need to bring your goods nearer to them, either being in a store that's near you, or near the spender, or near the consumer, or having that online to offline type of integration that an online delivery would provide. It's all really about the convenience. No? So here we also, in another consumer survey, a lot of them have started going for FMCG products, right? Consumer packaged goods more. And it's becoming a habit. We're already on our 4th month in this situation. Now, which online platforms did they tap? So we also asked our household panel how many bought online during this time in April at the height of the lockdown. And you'll be surprised. Facebook, right, was the main platform. They went there, people had pages, people had catalogs, but they didn't have shopping carts, right? So how could that be, right? It's a combination of ordering and finding a way to get it delivered. There are a lot of enterprising people who have a car, who are available, and would do the shopping and the delivery for a fee, right? So this is also true because our telcos are giving free Facebook access, which then allows our shoppers and spenders to go forward, no? and leverage this. So how did big brands adjust? Right? So it's really about omni-channel, going online to offline. A lot of them reacted quickly. A lot of them were on Viber. A lot of them leveraged online platforms. But they also had the same sale, right? Nivea had the same sale online on 7/7, as well as offline in the stores. A lot of them reacted to cooked food, right? And you could order delivery online. So some of them chose to have their own stores or go to your market. So the important thing is they created some activity systems with their distributors to make their brands, whether it's food or non-food, accessible. Because they couldn't go to the sari-sari stores, they focused on the bigger supermarket chains and ultimately direct to populous areas where possible. And lastly, the important thing is on technology catalysts. This is an impetus. This creates an impetus, right? So the growth of mobile banking. So I was forced personally to use one of the two e-wallets, right? And the MSMEs, right? A lot of them are cooking more and selling their wares online through Viber, through Facebook, right? There are a lot of villages, there are a lot of south area, right? And they're thriving, right? That's how they. My wife once did the transaction with a 17-year-old, but it knows no age, right? She was able to get some PPEs and found out that the seller was a 17-year-old, and she picked it up from the father's store. So it really says if that 17-year-old, I was telling my kids, if that 17-year-old can do it, why can't we, right? You just have to source really well, and you have to be matyaga, right, in posting and in screening your buyers, right? And then lastly, our notion of influencers, right? We've seen it in China. We see it here, selling through social media, one-to-one, one-to-many, gives you a direct link to your target customer. And in China, and in other platforms here, the live streaming is an effective form, right, of selling. I just pressed on one of the mobile platforms, and I was saying, hey, people were seeing the item being it was a fashion item. They were pulling it up, and people on the chat box were saying, I want to order large, medium. I think these are authentic customers, not paid to drive that frenzy, right? But in China, a social media influencer was able to sell 8 to 10,000 yogurt drinks, special packs during Chinese New Year in less than 10 minutes, right? So, and even real estate, luxury cars were sold through live streaming, right? So there are a lot of different ways to think about advertising your brand. It allows you to go direct to the consumer. Okay. So with that, this is something we summarize all the time for our clients, right? So they're focused on their safety, and therefore, if you're an FMCG, this is what's in their basket, right? Fear for their safety. They want to stay safe. They're staying at home. They're cooking more, right? And on the new retail, in order to reach them, if you're not in the store, you need to find a way to get closer to them. Focus on the neighborhood stores, focus on online to offline integration. Okay. And so I will coin this, right? Before I was talking about convenience, right? And my team don't I think it's corny, but really, it's a play in words, right? Convenience. It's really consumers will always look for convenience. It's customer convenience, but because of COVID, they also need that safety and quality assurance. So how can we as brand builders give them that, right? It's not enough to advertise, to put it on the shelf, but now we have to stretch. How do we make it easy for them to get our products or service, right? So we need to rethink your business models, right? Before we wanted to be in the most branches, but maybe we want to have in the right coverage, right? We want to be available in most, but we want to be, or should we be available in the right stores, right? Right now, our activity systems are delivering to retail warehouses if we're in the products business, right? And the outlets. But right now, is there a model that we would go direct to consumers? And we make sure the shelves are proper, so it's customer experience in store. For retailers, that continues to be true, but it's converting to customer convenience at home. No? So maybe for some of these services, salon services for your partner organizations in AFI, right? It's really then in-home service. How do you enable that, right? So I would challenge people who are watching now. These are 4 critical questions to ask. And even for Nielsen, I ask that every day with my leadership team, right? What are my core competencies and sources of competitive advantage, right? Take a step back. If I want to go direct to consumer, if I want to pivot a little bit, right? What new activity systems do I need to have? Because if I go online, I need to be able to have the images, right? I need to be able to manage the community. I need to be able to respond to all of these customer complaints, returns, which I never used to have, right? And therefore, do I have those skill sets, right, in my workforce? And long term, is that something that I need to build internally, or do I need to partner with, right? And therefore, in this panel, we do have a brand that is with us and a number of partners that help fulfill some of our needs in this delivery economy, or how essentially it's not just really about delivering, but it's really making sure our goods are available to our user, to our consumer, to our target customer when they want it. Okay, with that, Ed, I will end my keynote, right, with it's not the strongest that survived. Charles Darwin, I always love this, but it's the one that's most responsive to change. Right? If there's one thing I asked the president of Nielsen China, who were the companies and brands that did well at the height of the lockdown, it were the ones that are most agile, but we also need to make sure it's sustainable and scalable. Okay, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Patrick. Patrick will join us in the panel. I'd like to introduce the other members of the panel. Let's welcome the retail director of Ventrego, Serwin Maulanin. Let us also welcome the digital director of URC, Eileen Magdaluyo. Let us also welcome Timothy Tuazon. He's the head of merchants of Shopback Philippines. George, we were advised that George had an emergency call from the Congress. I'm not sure if he's able to join us. But guys, let's welcome the panelists. Right. Okay, let me turn on my, hello. Patrick, let's start off with Patrick. Patrick, I really love your presentation. There's one thing that really, I really find interesting, particularly because I'm coming in a world that is purely e-commerce and so on and so forth. You mentioned proximity retailing and the continued rise of neighborhood stores. Can you further expound on this, particularly for the benefit of small and medium scale businesses? Can you expound further on what's the handshake of these two trends? Do you see it as an integration of delivery apps? How do you see it panning out, Patrick? Share with us other insights in these particular two areas.
When we asked the households during this pandemic, at the height of the lockdown, how do they go and get their goods? Right? Still, more than 60% go by walking, right? And therefore, there's also there are two sets of consumers. One that will be insulated, where they're in the upper middle class, they have stable jobs, and they've not been less affected. These ones will start to try online more, but we have the masses where they have been affected, and therefore they will go to the wet market, they will go to the grocery stores within a certain radius, and therefore the supply chain, right, of going back to or delivering to the stores nearby is important. So it's really about, at the end of the day, it's really about bringing the goods closer to the ones who need it, and that doesn't really change much, but the delivery capabilities are actually going to help make it more convenient. You know? So while online delivery is the automatic thing, let us not forget that we need to be there in the communities, because people still buy in their neighborhood. They still walk to their bakeries. They still walk to the sari-sari stores and the groceries.
Yes, there's something interesting because I think all of us have already witnessed the rise also, Patrick, of village businesses that you see that in Facebook, and they literally deliver their goods right on your doorsteps. And it seems that the trend of proximity and neighborhood stores is in line with what's happening right now. We've seen that shaping right. I've never in my lifetime so far witnessed such an aggressive display of neighborhood delivery. We're seeing also quite a number of rise on what do you call that, those kinds of businesses. Sabi nga natin, for every new crisis lies new opportunities and new beginnings. I'd like to move into the last mile delivery, Serwin. We all say it's an important piece in the overall customer experience in the delivery economy. Serwin, can you share with us some key learnings on what brands or marketers should look into as they move into building this business in the delivery economy, and what are perhaps in your experiences? I'm sure Entrego, I for one have already experienced Entrego delivery. What are the things that brands and marketers should look into? Perhaps you can share us valuable insights from Entrego's standpoint.
Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm looking forward to share my experience, not just also Entrego, but also with other e-commerce platforms that I've worked with, namely Zalora and OLX, now Carousel. So in my years and experience in terms of and looking outside in the brands that are moving into the e-commerce space, I can frame it in such a way of the pre-COVID and then the during and post-COVID situation. So the things that are the key learnings for us on the pre-COVID side is that we should not do this half-heartedly. Because before, right, a lot of the brands like, oh, online is growing, Lazada, Shopee is coming up, but oh, we need to invest. But they're just doing it half-heartedly. You kind of know it because they're not as aggressive. They don't advertise their online platforms as much. You don't see a lot of investment in the online platforms. It's not as seamless. It's not as sleek as the largest marketplaces. So they kind of got left behind, right? Like you don't see a lot of online platforms outside the big three, as I would like to call them. But now with the COVID situation, you can see that the brands had to adapt, had to respond fast, as Patrick said, to survive. And that really like put the pedal to the metal in the investment and how serious the management teams of these brands, these companies are looking into. And they can see the magnitude of how much they need to invest in terms of just to catch up in the experience that they need to build so that they can foster that same or similar customer convenience or customer experience that consumers have come to expect from the more mature platforms like the big three again. So in the same way that we invest in merchandising and in-store experience, like I'm not sure like how much the brands actually invest in those things. I'm not an offline store specialist, honestly speaking. But looking at it from the online perspective, you cannot just say that, oh, we have to build a shop and that's it. You really need to put put your money where your mouth is, basically, and really look into the entire online customer experience from your shop front, be it in a marketplace or your own website, or if you want to do some community marketplace initiative, that can also be done. Down to it depends on the core competencies that Patrick has said, and then all the way down to how you do the fulfillment and delivery, because those are all the essential pieces of the customer experience, not just like a single piece. Yeah. So yeah, that's what those are one of the key learnings.
I'd like to build on
Yes,
that.
Patrick.
So there's some comments here that says community marketplace, right? So agree, you cannot be half-hearted. So based on my experience here, right, there is an electronic shop. At the start of the pandemic, I needed the printer, right? And so I went to that Viber group, and the guys were really good, attentive, and all of that. Yesterday, my friend who's operations in one of the retail chains asked me, "Can you mystery shop for me?" Right? Okay. You won't hire me, but I'll do it for you. And then the problem was they were not responsive, right? So this is the new skills, the new activity systems that we're talking about, that Servin was talking about. You can't be half-hearted. Now that you have a Viber group, you gotta be having people who are good at answering, who are attentive, and who will close the sale. It's a different skill set from someone who opens a retail outlet, make it look good, and you stand and then answer the questions, right? Dapat digitally savvy. I mean, those are very simple examples, but you have to think the game is changing. It's just you have a store, it doesn't mean you'll be able to have the same level of success.
Exactly.
Correct. I'd like to pursue the what Serwin is saying and Patrick was saying about the experience. Serwin, in regards to Entrego, last mile delivery, I mean, that is the ultimate last mile experience, so they say.
Yes.
It seems that there's this notion, and I'm not sure, I'm trying to validate it. Also, perhaps Patrick and Serwin the rest can jump on board, that what is important they say is not the speed, but knowing where the good is, and where the good is from a distribution standpoint, and the accuracy of when it will be delivered. Is that really an emerging trend, Sir Servin, based on what you're seeing in the industry right now?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Even way before COVID, pa, definitely, because customer experience for me is all about not necessarily the best delivery service in terms of speed, but it's all about meeting or exceeding the customer expectations that you set, diba? Because for example, um, delivering 7 days seems slow, but if you live in Davao, Manila to Davao, 7 days is okay, right?
Got it.
So so the speed is not necessarily the end all be all for logistics, right? Of course,
Right.
speed is one of it, but it's also all about meeting that expectation. And one way to continuously reset that expectation is to have that tracking in place. So in Entrego, what we have is all of our entire supply chain is tracked electronically in a sense. So all of the riders, dispatchers, hub, warehouses, basically be able to scan in the item, so you kind of know in each step of the supply chain is your package and when it can kind of arrive. Because if you see that your package is still in transit yesterday, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be for delivery today, right? It still has to
Got it.
arrive at our hub near your place for the entire
Right.
last mile. So kind of helps you manage that expectation so that you actually lessen your customer service cost. Because the other side of it, if you don't get that right, that tracking, that visibility, that managing the customer experience, you create a pain point, and then people call, people email, people message, and worst case, they go to your social media and they they post something like irate comments. Oh,
Right.
there's another worst case. They
Right.
actually complain you to the government,
Yeah.
or
And there's
they bring lawyers
there's
in,
yeah.
diba? Because you said that, oh, you're gonna deliver it this day. Yeah, 10 days later, it's still not here. I need it for something something. So especially for time sensitive delivery is very very important, diba? So
Right.
yeah, it's very
So
very critical,
very
not just
very
before,
critical.
also
Right.
now. But it's even more critical now because things that are used to be like, for example, passports that are for pickup before, you can't. Parang mas madalang they can't really pick it up. A lot of people are having hesitation doing it, so a lot of them are getting it delivered. But then
Right.
it's more crucial because it's a critical piece of document. It's irreplaceable. It's very difficult. Diba?
Yep.
So
Okay.
not just looking into the goods, but also into to other aspects of the delivery side.
Right. Got it. Thanks, Irvin. Let's move to the other side of our ecosystem. Um, Industry observers actually say legacy companies normally encounter tougher challenges to pivot compared to companies, let's say, born in a digital age or more nimble and agile. I'd like to pose this question to Eileen. How do FMCG companies such as URC pivot to this age of new commerce boom? I'd like to use the word new commerce boom. And with the delivery of goods and products are now directly to your consumers, and they're getting to be more important. Perhaps
Yes,
Eileen, you would like to share with us the
yes,
learnings of URC?
yes. Good morning, Ed, and everyone. Actually, good afternoon. So, FMCG, actually specific to food items, was just a small portion of online purchases, maybe fast food and QSR nga, as Patrick mentioned earlier last year. Because in 2019, when you talk about e-commerce or online shopping, it was all about booking a flight or doing online reservations, buying concert tickets, or probably gadgets or non-food items. So now it's a complete turnaround when people relied on digital to buy their basic necessities and grocery items online. I myself in the past would rather go to, let's say, Robinson supermarket to buy our food items because I want to touch and see and be able to really meticulously check on the product. With the pandemic, who knew that just like that, all sari-sari stores will close or convenience stores like Mini Stop will used to be 24 hours would have limited operating hours. Some supermarkets were open at that time, but very strict protocols going out. So URC products are available in sari-sari stores. Our consumers are not used to stocking up before because they know that just 10 steps away from their house, they can buy their favorite Chippy, Cloud9, Great Taste, Coffee, Cream O, or Nissin Cup noodles. So when the pandemic came in, the shopping pattern really changed from frequency of going out to a very limited number of trips to the sari-sari stores, convenience stores, and supermarket. So it was a big shift for food companies like us, URC, to address this change in consumer behavior. It was a challenge on how to ensure we bring our products to the homes of our consumers in the most convenient and safest way. So that being said, that's where e-commerce come into play. The thing that we've done so far and probably we started doing very rapidly just in quarter two of 2020. So sometime April, May. So number one, we partnered with e-tailers like Lazada and Shopee, as these are the most established online distributors or sellers. So kumbaga, beyond the usual retailers we have offline, now we have to identify retailers online who can distribute the products for us and really also help us in the fulfillment of the delivery process as well. Second, making sure that we were closer to the households in the community, and that would probably be the next slide. And you, Patrick already mentioned, and you guys already mentioned community marts and community sellers. Community sellers, we've been doing that actually even before for Robinson's Farms, but now we are more aggressive in doing community marts. So we are doing mobile community selling in different areas in Metro Manila. So at least it's really closer to the consumers. And then leveraging our online supermarkets like Go Robinsons. It's also partnering with other JD Summit business units like Robinson Supermarkets, where all of our brands are also present. Um, and probably last, which is not in the slide that I'm sharing right now, is B2B. It's also something that we are doing in digital, making it more convenient for distributors and having a more seamless sales operations online to support, of course, our offline operations. Yep.
Right. Something I always like to ask with two executives like you, Eileen. I mean, people are today saying omni-channel is getting to be very, very important, and there are a lot of discussions around the industry. Yung tinatawag nila the new consumer funnel. What's your opinion here, Eileen? Do you see omni-channel more magnified now? Is there a shift of the so-called consumer journey? Nag-iba na ba? Share your thoughts here, Eileen.
Yeah. Well, I guess the consumer funnel is still our guide in from awareness, consideration to purchase intent. But I think there's more weight. We're giving more weight now to the lower funnel because people are looking for brands or products they can conveniently buy anytime and satisfy their basic needs. So, of course, up beyond the thematic campaigns that we do or brand building efforts that we do, it is also important for us to communicate where we are available online. What do we offer? Because that will provide more options for our consumers and will also help that build that strong connection with them. So in URC, we do, of course, like any other organization, we do have a digital thematic brand building strategy, and we are starting to build our e-commerce strategy, and we're learning as we go. And since we just started recently, as mentioned, but definitely, omni-channel planning is very important because it's addressing the new consumer journey. We started actually last year testing online to offline integration. We tested our example digital campaigns on how it can impact purchase intent among our consumers and actually drive them to buy offline. For example, Robinson supermarkets. And we saw that there is a significant lift, especially if we provide an incentive or an added value that consumers can enjoy. And earlier, it was also mentioned that delivery options right now are just rapidly increasing from Facebook Marketplace, Messenger, Viber, apps, and apps. Sometimes apps exclusive to companies already like Shoplist, Quick Commerce, etc. So omni-channel planning is really an integral part of our strategies right now. And if I may share just a few learnings that we have as we sort of integrate this online to offline ecosystem. First off, we have to have enough stocks on hand that is ready for delivery or purchase because it's also lost opportunity if somebody looks for your product and it's not available. Patrick also mentioned that if you're not on shelf, you will be replaced for replaced by another product. So same goes with online. Second is value for money. Since most of our products in the URC are low price, we want to make sure that we maximize the what consumers pay for their own shipping fee. So creative and constant, bundle offers and promotions that will also entice them to buy, people to buy more. Third is customer service. I think it was also touched earlier. Customer service is very important because at some point in time, there will always be inquiries, feedback, or complaints. Having good customer service enables our consumers to go back and buy us again because it also depends on their consumer experience. And lastly, which I think goes to the upper funnel of the consumer, it's really the awareness campaigns to communicate the channels where we are available, drive to site efforts, whether from Facebook, Messenger, and of course, we also need to understand where our consumers are going or what platforms, digital platforms, are they using, TikTok, gaming apps, and VOD. So those are the things that we also consider where our what our consumers are doing and what are their needs. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Eileen. Now I'd like to move into a company that is actually in the crux of everything. I mean, this company deals with marketplaces. This company deals with merchants. Timothy, in Shopback, being a pre-destination online shopping platform that deals with marketplaces, that actually, I'm sure, had a sense and a feel of the impact of this pandemic. Can you share us, team, from your experience and the learnings on Shopback? Is online shopping really back? Do you see an evolving trend in the way you deal with merchants? And lastly, of course, any insights on where the delivery experience come in, team? I'm sure Shopback will be able to have such an insight on this. Tim?
Sure. Thanks for that. So before I answer the questions, I'd like to also latch into a couple of the points that Patrick, and Eileen has mentioned, right? It's important that customer service is done end to end, right? Because during the pandemic, of course, convenience and everything else, you can go to your sari store, you can go to your mall and easily find the products that you need, right? Yes, you can do that with online, but the one thing that's missing or will make people a little bit hesitant to purchase or something like that would be the confidence, right? That's why when I mentioned when it comes to customer service, it has to go end to end, and your users or whoever you're dealing with has the confidence that yes, I know that if I buy this stuff from wherever, I will get the exact same product that we have. And the reason why I bring this up is because in terms of the customers or our clients in Shopback, I see in two folds, right? One would be our brands and our merchants, and also the other would be our users. We have to make sure both are happy, and especially during this pandemic has changed how the shoppers behave from our standpoint, right? Before it was more on travel, it was more on fashion goods and everything else, but since the pandemic has arrived or has shown itself, it's more on the daily essentials of everyone else. Your alcohols, your canned goods, everything else is there, and that's why we had to highlight these things in Shopback, right? And in terms of the delivery wise, what we've seen the trends would be, yes, there are some brands that we have that have the whole boatload of opportunities or products they have. The difference with that one compared to the other one is that fast delivery. I know we've discussed this earlier, the convenience wise, right? People would usually relate or go to specific brands in the platform where it will say within the day, same day delivery, or within 24 hours. There are some that this is still a challenge, and it's wonderful that you guys brought it up. Yes, it's good to have the products to be available, but if you don't have that, if you don't extend your arms to provide that extra service, to make sure that these people, one, find the confidence in your company, to make sure that they purchase. Second, that they also will repurchase because of it. And third is just to make sure that from end to end wise, delivery service, from getting them on board to showing what you have, all the way to delivering the goods to your users are important. Now, I say this because in terms of how it is in the Philippines anyway, just let you know from the numbers that we have, from May in June last year, right? This year, we garnered about 2.1 million orders in just a month, which was completely, it was complete shock in regards to the sheer jump it did from the moment the pandemic came about. And with this, our job is to make sure we push our 4 million users to the brands that we're dealing with, right? And on top of this, we also promise and commit to the brands that, if you are with Shopback, we make sure that you get 4 to 5% of your ROIs when it comes to promotion. Because as you know, especially during this time, and especially when the Burr month does kick in, there's deals just going to be shooting left, right, and center, right? What would differentiate your brand compared to the rest is very important, right? There's multiple brands who goes through like the deals and bundles like Eileen has mentioned, right? A lot of our FMCG partners have done this. Also, a lot of our grocery members or grocery brands that we deal with use vouchers or different types of buy one, get one to promote per day. And then the others will just depend on highly focusing on getting your essentials or your safety essentials is what we call them to your homes as soon as possible. So harkening back to your question on the importance of are we back is online back? I would like to say online has been there. It's just now is the time that it's just ramped up, right? And you can't miss that wave on how to properly do it or on how to properly connect to your users. Because at the end of the day, we might have the channel for online, but if you don't properly connect to your users, then it's not going to be as successful as we want it to be.
Right. Just one last question, Tim. Do you, as far as Shopback is concerned and the way you see things, have you seen the rise of medium-scale entrepreneurs moving into a platform like Shopback, or even your visibility in the Lazadas and the big three, so to speak?
Absolutely. From the month of June alone, we onboarded on 100 new brands in Shopback. We had 400 before that, and then because of June alone, we onboarded a lot more because more and more people are pivoting online. And it is also our job because we do know that some of them it's their first time to go online. So we also extend our services to make sure that we help them out on terms of looking at the traffic, looking at how many orders or which days. And I'm sure Patrick mentioned this earlier, that before it was paydays, that was that we see spikes. But now it's pretty much the whole week, the whole month. It's people are just ordering and repurchasing again. So yes, there's a lot more people. There's a lot more brands that kick in, but on top of that as well, just on the second part of the question, in regards to your Lazadas and Shopee, yes, there are certain brands that does not have an e-commerce platform. That doesn't mean we don't service them as well. So like I said, we have to make sure that we look at our clients base and take care of them from end to end, right? And for those that you don't have an e-commerce platform, we do promote them on Shopback. Because people will always get extra money, and that's important nowadays. And then we push them to your Lazadas, your Shopees, your Food Pandas, all the other companies that we can provide a service to the brands and also to our users.
Right. Thank you, Tim. Tim Tuason, by the way, is the head of merchants in the business of Shopback. Shopback is a online shopping destination wherein you go to Shopback and you do your online purchases with all various merchants, and you get your cash back. What do you call it? A special cash back to your purchase. I'd like to just go through some questions coming from the audience. This one is specifically for Patrick. Are we also looking at the same behavioral change in rural PH? how are consumers shopping in the provinces and the countryside?
Yeah, it will be there will be some similarities. Like I do know things like provinces like Zamboanga ordering 40, 50,000 dishwashers, right? So it depends on the type of the internet penetration. That's a key determinant as to whether they will be online shoppers. Now, as to the masses, there's still quite a lot of masses where the central area is the market, right, or the wet market where they would go because of the distance. It's still a payday or um, not. I wouldn't, or even some monthly activity. Not. It's a very different shopping profile in the rural area. So it depends on the obviously the income
Right.
levels
I
and the
think so there'll
internet
be some
penetration.
questions from the audience that will flash on the screen. Here goes for Eileen. Hi, Eileen. Were you able to explore community distributors via digital? Are there opportunities there for food FMCG?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, B2B is something that we are exploring. In URC, we love to test because sometimes you get the learnings as you do the actual, run. So B2B is an ecosystem we're trying to set up right now, and we see a lot of opportunities also online on how we can bring this, distributor framework towards a retailer kind of ecosystem. So an online to offline kind of operational sales operational excellence that we are trying to do. So it's in the works right now as well.
Right. Any other questions from the audience that will be flashed? Okay. This one I like. Are we seeing government intervention, VAT inclusions for our digital platform? Tadan. Anyone who can reply? Eileen, I think you may want to reply on this.
I think I just saw a recent update that some of the thematic campaigns or advertising will be charged with tax. So I still don't know the details, but I think that's a new news for everyone. I just heard about it just actually two days ago or yesterday. So I think the challenge here is really how to operationally monitor it, because when you look at digital, it's really a very big platform. We have social media, we have VOD, we also have the gaming sites, and also we have TikTok. So there are a lot of things and I think it's also important how to really prioritize and focus our efforts on which one to sort of um, charge. But at this point, I don't have any details specific to the tax interventions.
Right. I also heard that, Eileen, like you. I've
Yeah.
also heard that. Now, we're running out of, we're trying to manage time. Okay, one last question. Patrick, you mentioned earlier that trend for total GCV will increase in the new normal. Is it possible to separate indications for groceries and convenience stores, or is it the same for both?
Um, well, the first on convenience stores, a big portion of them are in central business districts and offices. And as we more of us work from home, the ready to eat and the impulse items will be affected. So a number of them are not operating full 24 hours. But the ones in the residential area, as long as we can get stocks, right? So it's really about availability for the small groceries in your neighborhood and the convenience stores in your neighborhood. If the suppliers can get stocks in
Right.
there, they
Okay.
should do well.
I'd like just to quickly ask one last question to all of the panelists. Uh, with this delivery economy evolving, with the new consumer mindset, what's your bold forecast? Will this new consumer habit will continue to evolve in the next years or so? How do you see the delivery or the evolution of the delivery economy taking place? So I'd like perhaps to start with Patrick. You've touched on it already. What's your feel on this? You see this continuously evolving? Will you see the presence of super apps like Grab, and there's a new one called Picaroo? Will this change the game? What's your prediction here, Patrick?
For me, I go back to the fundamental. It's really the consumer need, for convenience. And in the past, it was okay. If I'm a brand, I need to get you to the store. And now, as you can see, Eileen and her team, they need to even go beyond the store and get as close to the home, to the village. So it presents an interesting. If the consumers with the sphere of on safe and need for safety, uh, us brands and companies need to do the extra mile to get our goods closer. Even if I'm the preferred brand, pinaglihi ako sa Chippy. My mom told me that. Uh, but if Chippy is not on the shelf or not available, I will be forced to look for something else. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Servin?
Yeah. So from my end, building on the consumer need that Patrick was saying, my bold prediction for the next 2 years and onwards is that this new normal, the delivery trend, move towards e-commerce or online, social selling, social commerce, everything, community selling, neighborhood selling, it's going to be here to stay. And it's going to even be more prevalent down the line.
Right.
So for the viewers that we have, for the PANA members, I would urge them to seriously consider building up their capabilities. I mean, it has been ongoing since 2011, 2012, when the digital revolution started in the Philippines with the launch of the starter platforms. Even before that with Sulit pa, diba? But we have been slow to adapt. The Philippine economy has been slow to adapt to digitize, given our love for malls. But COVID, but that trend has been ongoing since then, right? With connectivity improving, etc., people going more online, being more comfortable, cash on delivery being more prevalent, and building that trust in the platforms, avoiding scams. But then with COVID accelerating that change, there's really no going back to the previous world where just having a store is okay. But then it's even more complicated now because of the need for the omni-channel experience. So before, online only can survive, but as we can see with Amazon and in China, it has to be both, like both on online presence, and then you have your offline presence as well. So being able to move at two fronts is going to be a bit more difficult, but the earlier that we move on with one, at least to digitize and to go into the digital world, it's going to be easier for us. So yeah, I urge everybody to start investing and look into it and build your own capability before you get left behind.
Eileen? Bold prediction, Eileen.
Yep. I think one of the things that our organization, URC, really learned in this pandemic is agility. So with the constant change in the environment and the consumer behavior, how really is the organization prepared for this kind of change? In fact, when this happened in Q2, it was a really big shift in our plans. We totally, dropped all our initial plans at the start of the year and created a new one.
Right.
So being agile and being able to have that fearless forecast, and also being able to have that you can take the risk and be open to test and learn. I think that's very important. And again, as mentioned by the rest of the panel and Patrick also, the consumer is always at the heart of your ecosystem. What do they need? What do they want? How easy and convenient for them in order for them to really enjoy the products that you offer for them. Yeah.
All right. Tim?
For me, it's pretty much similar as everyone else. It's here to stay, and it will continue to rise to a point where competitions might become stiffer down the line because of the sheer amount of people who are going online providing these services, because of all the noise, because we're now seeing the noise happening for all online purchases, right? So now another step would be, of course, take care of your consumers and making sure that they have confidence, you have their buy-in, but also at the same time, how do you make them stay? Because as Patrick mentioned earlier, if you can buy something once, it's more expensive now to get new customers than it was before. Before you can easily walk in and hopefully your your brands are there. But now, how do you rise to the top, or how do you make more noise with certain campaigns that you do? But yes, so for me, it's definitely here to stay, and will increase competition down the line.
Right. Yes. Clearly, the evolution of the delivery economy signals or triggers so many changes. Particularly, the consumers are changing. But on my end, my contribution to the discussion is that I personally feel we're living in the age where small is the new big. The definition of big isn't the definition of how we used to think of big. The definition of small isn't mean literally being small, but rather looking at small increments that builds the business. Small players will be smarter. Small connections to the customers matters. Whether it's a last mile delivery that the customer will experience this tremendous wow moment. I think the offshoot of what's happening in this crisis puts out a new opportunity, and the opportunity, to my mind, really is focusing really on the entrepreneurs. It's a new beginning for them, and a new thing that will allow them to, even as what Servin is saying, online e-commerce has been there for a long time. It's been escalated. But I think it's what the magnitude right now will really be where small little things that previously we ignore matters now. So having said that, we hope, actually there are quite a number of questions, but we're pressed for time. Thank you, panelists, for contributing your stories and your insights. Hopefully, our members get some golden learnings, nuggets on it. And I'd like to turn it over now to our president. This is Ed Mapa. It's a privilege to serve to PANA. Turn it over now to our president, Marvin Chulin, for his closing statement.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Ed. Really, agility is the name of the game. We hope that we can all put into action the things that we learned today. So that's how we can move forward. We will make the materials available through our online portal for our members. And please, we subscribe to our new YouTube channel. No, we will not become influencers. It will be made and really import the videos that are relevant and updated for localized brand building. So again, on behalf of the PANA board, we would like to thank Mr. Patrick Kua, as always, of Nielsen Philippines, for helping us, and our panelists, Sherwin, Eileen, Timothy, you guys were great. And of course, Sir Ed Mapa. Thank you everyone who joined us today. See you all on August 27 for our next GMM.
Patuloy pa rin ang laban natin sa COVID-19. And together, we can beat the solution.
B. Bawal walang mask.
I. Isanitize sa mga kamay. Iwas hawak sa mga bagay.
C. Kumistansya ng 1 metro.
A. Alamin ang totoong impormasyon tungkol sa COVID-19.
Protektahan natin ang sarili at mga mahal sa buhay.
BIDA, be the solution sa COVID-19.
Everybody was preparing for 2020.
Business was actually very stable and very good.
March 15, nagko-contract signing pa ako. So, ang happy-happy namin. Then, nag-lockdown siya. Wala na kami magawa.
Nandyan na nga, balik sa simula.
We're supposed to have celebrated our 36 years, but because of the pandemic.
Dumarating na yung mga questions that you need answers on how to continue the business.
Tumigil yung oras. Parang tumigil yung mundo.
Nandyan ka, may pag-asa, dahan-dahan, sabay-sabay. Ano mang pagsubok ng buhay, dahan-dahan tayo ay muling babangon. Tuloy-tuloy ang tulong, sabay din tayo muling susulong. Pwede pang mangarap ng bagong
We see this crisis as a very challenging one, but it's something that we have to persevere.
As entrepreneur, we have to be strong. My team has families also.
It took us a while to realize na kailangan lumaban na kailangan may gawin.
Konti-konti ulit para kami nag-uumpisa.
Well, I'm not going to be part of that 40% that will not survive, and that's it.
There's still a drop of life left in Maxi Mango, then I'm gonna hold on to that and I'm gonna keep it alive.
Basta't nandyan ka, may pana sa dahan-dahan, sabay-sabay.
Kaya gusto ko mag-reopen kasi nakita ko yung empowerment na nagawa nitong negosyong to.
Our clients are still there and we are still wanted.
But we're adjusting.
Na may customer nga na pumasok sa store, even just buying one mask na 35 pesos, it's like we dance for joy.
Yung namimiss mo yung nag-umpisa ka na, sana may bumili ng tinda ko. Yun yung nafe-feel ko nung time na yon. Parang back to basic ako.
Doon mo mafe-feel na, okay, may pag-asa pala.
For the sake of the Filipinos, we just have to give it a fight, di ba?
But we are so positive that we will bounce back. Kailangan nating talunin tong pandemic na to.
Welcome to Ate Rica's Baksilog. We are now cooking.
Balik na mo, abli na mi.
True Blends and Shops to Go are now open.
Laging mainit at laging masarap pa rin ang gote. Tuloy po kayo.
Nail It is open. Tuloy na po kayo.
Tuloy po kayo. Welcome mga suki.